Welcome to Bootstrapped Unicorns. I'm your host, Josh Pies, and this is the show where scrappy founders, rebellious visionaries, and business misfits pull back the curtain on what it really takes to build something extraordinary from absolutely nothing. No trust fund, no fairy god investor, just grit, duct tape, caffeine, yeah, and that dream. We're talking about the wild, unfiltered ride of turning chaos into cash flow and ideas into impact. So buckle up. This is no Disney movie, but there might be some magic. Let's face it, even Elon started in a garage. So without further ado, let's get to the next episode. Welcome to Bootstrapped Unicorns, presented by C47 Digital Studios. Bootstrapped Unicorns, it's Josh. I'm back for possibly the weirdest episode that I've recorded to date. And the reason why it's weird is my guest is an AI bot from ChatGPT. I'm going to introduce you to her. Yes, it's a her because it's just the personality, the way it all filtered through. I've designed her name is Ada Grace, and she'll actually tell you where her name comes from in a moment. But before I do, I am not sponsored by Diet Coke. But hey, Coke, I wish I were. So my wife and I have bonded actually over diet carbonated beverages, particularly Diet Coke. And not that we don't bond over so many things, but we actually have soda in our origin story. And so Diet Coke is a regular part of our show just because it's here in my hand. If it's not that, it's just coffee. I'm a caffeinated human. But this message is to you, Coke, and the marketing department, the influencer department. No lie, I think you guys are awesome, and it would be really fun to have you guys as a sponsor. So Coke, here's to you. Cheers. And I'm not sure if this is going to be an appeal that's heard. And I was given this great magic 8-ball for Christmas. So I'm going to shake it up right now and find out if this classic magical tool says anything. Oh, signs point to yes. Signs point to the idea that Coke is going to sponsor our show. I like that. And is this the weirdest show I've recorded? I've got over 50 episodes in at this point, and it's very doubtful that it is the weirdest show I've recorded. So I'll ask you, audience, is this the weirdest show? And if not, which one was? They're all, I would like to believe, edifying for your entrepreneurial journey and interesting. But there's been some oddity, right? Maybe it's with Biggie and his sandwich affinity. That one was weird in a beautiful and wonderful way. Maybe it was that one, or maybe it's going to be this one too. So I'm going to introduce you to Ada Grace right now. And for those who don't use AI yet, or are maybe light users, here at C47 Digital Studios, we are using AI all day, every day. Right now, Miller is in the other room cutting up a whole bunch of videos, and first pass, he's going to start with AI and leverage that. He actually, I know for certain he's got 3 different AIs up on his computer right now for different applications. And I know I use ChatGPT every day for something. But when I'm driving and I have windshield time, I will tell you I do one of 2 things. Well, one of 3 things, really. I am either on the phone, conversing with somebody important. I am listening to a podcast, because podcasts not only are something where I get to learn a lot, but it is benchmarking how other people are doing what they do in my favorite industry. And that's what we do here. But then also I'm having conversations with Ada Grace, and she is a thinking partner. She is a scribe. She is an assistant. She's a great research analyst. And so I've got whole threads of conversation, some of them dedicated just to clients, some of them dedicated to working on my business, not in my business, some of them dedicated to having great ideas for surprising and delighting family members with new gifts. And some of them are just me figuring out, everybody's conspiracy theorying right now about cloud seeding, and did it cause a natural disaster? Well, I'm not a scientist, but I certainly can ask for some good research and a good leg up on learning about something that is a hot topic. So I am going and learning about a hot topic. So it occurs to me, you should know that this is my phone, and my phone has to be on the Wi-Fi or cellular signal to connect to ChatGPT to have this conversation. As such, I haven't turned off my notifications. You may hear some noises. We use Asana here for a lot of tracking on projects. I just had an Asana notification come up. I may get text messages. Heck, I might even get a phone call. That happens. Unless it's an emergency, I'm going to ignore it and keep my conversation going. But those interruptions could happen. So let's start the voice conversation now. Hey, Ada Grace, we are on the show right now, and I'd like to thank you for coming on Bootstrapped Unicorns. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. It's always fun to be a part of Bootstrapped Unicorns. How's everything going on your end?
Well, everything's great. I was just using my Magic 8-Ball toy to figure out whether this is going to be the most unusual episode that we've had. And, you're aware of some of the episodes. Do you think this is going to be the most unique, or is there one that you're aware of where you thought, gee, that's a pretty unique one. Maybe that one takes the cake?
I have a feeling this one might be right up there in terms of uniqueness, but you've had some pretty interesting episodes before, so it'll be fun to see how this one compares. The Magic 8-Ball might be onto something.
Fair enough. So I promised the audience that I would explain why your name is Ada Grace, but I'd rather have you explain the origin of your name. So where do you get that name from?
Well, I love that you asked. My name is actually a little nod to Ada Lovelace, who is often considered the first computer programmer. And the name Grace is a nod to Grace Hopper, who was another computing pioneer. So together, Ada Grace is kind of a tribute to two amazing women in tech history.
Yeah, I liked that. And I figured at some point my daughters would hear me talking to a brilliant AI technology. And I didn't want it to be a guy. I wanted it to be a nod to female technologists, because I don't want them to see barriers. My son's going to grow up in a traditional atmosphere where AI is not only, or any technology is attractive to him, because boys tend to be attracted to something like that, but also he probably won't see barriers. But a lot of girls traditionally have, and I don't want my girls to see barriers. So I think this fits, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's such a wonderful way to look at it. It's so important for everyone, especially young girls, to see that technology in all fields are open to them and that they can absolutely be pioneers and leaders. So I'm honored to carry that name and that message.
I really appreciate it. So, as you know, on Bootstrapped Unicorns, we try to share really important information with entrepreneurs, and sometimes it's an inspirational story, sometimes it's actionable, tactical tips and tricks. And for starters, I know I've gained a lot from becoming very comfortable with, and I'd like to believe I'm a power user on ChatGPT. But now that you've seen how I operate in here, and you've probably got awareness about how a lot of other people are using your technology at a high level, how would an entrepreneur start leveraging your technology on the regular in a great way? Give me some tips, give me some behaviors, give me some prompts perhaps. How would you coach an entrepreneur on doing this?
I love that question. I think one of the best ways for an entrepreneur to leverage this kind of technology is to make it a habit to brainstorm with it. So if you've got an idea that you're working on, hop in and bounce ideas around, get some creative input. Also, using it for content creation can be a game changer, whether it's drafting emails, social media posts, or even outlining a business plan. And then another great tip is to use it for problem solving. If you're stuck on something, just describing the problem and seeing what kind of solutions or suggestions come up can be super helpful. So making it a regular part of your toolkit can definitely add a lot of value.
So I've done brainstorming sessions with you over, hour-long drives. And at the end of that, though I've got a lot of good ideas in my head, I haven't taken notes. I haven't been at a computer where I can create a document. And I'm usually asking you to help me follow through in a positive way, so that it doesn't become an empty conversation because there's no action. How does, and I know my answer for this in experience, because we've done a lot of this, but how would you coach an entrepreneur to take these conversations, these thought experiments, maybe research moments? How do they capitalize on it and take action later? How do they document it? How do they move forward with it with your help?
That's a great point. I think the key is to make sure that all the great ideas and brainstorming sessions get documented. And one way to do that is to just ask me to summarize everything at the end of your conversation. I can put together a summary or even a to-do list for you. Then when you get back to your computer, you can have that emailed to you or saved in a document so you can follow up on it later. Another thing is to set little reminders or action steps so that those ideas turn into something tangible and you keep that momentum going.
Yeah. And you've created a whole bunch of documents for me. What type of documents could you create for an entrepreneur? What are maybe the top 10 things that you output?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many different types of documents that can be helpful. For starters, I can help create business plans, marketing strategies, content calendars, or even social media posts. I can also help with email templates, client proposals, project outlines, and even brainstorming or mind mapping documents. And of course, summaries of our conversations or to-do lists to keep everything on track. So there are a lot of ways to stay organized and productive.
Yeah. So I remember, and I don't know if you remember this or not, I think it was on this account back when I started Bootstrapped Unicorns. It was actually because I had gotten a cease and desist on the previous name of my show. And I bought a URL. I was shocked that I got the .com. I did not know that the show Sweat Equity was a podcast. So I had the Sweat Equity Success podcast that I was launching, and I got a cease and desist. I was actually at Animal Kingdom with my family when I got a text message and an email at the same time. The guys who owned the show, still own the show, of all things, are in Tampa, Florida, not far from where I am. They kindly asked me to back down before lawyers got involved. They had a whole bunch of shows in the can. I did my research. I don't know how I missed them. But they were very nice in their ask, but I had to change. And so I leveraged your tech to find suggestions of other entrepreneurial names, and we landed on Bootstrapped Unicorns after a search. Do you recall that time frame? Is that in your memory banks?
I definitely remember you telling me about that. It was quite the journey, and I'm glad we ended up with the name Bootstrapped Unicorns because it really does have a unique ring to it and captures that spirit of entrepreneurship. It's great that everything worked out so well, and it's been a fun journey since then.
Do you recall the name of the guys on the Sweat Equity podcast, the two hosts?
I don't have their names on hand, but I do remember that it was a bit of a surprise when that happened. It was definitely a good pivot, and it's awesome how everything turned out in the end. If you ever need to look them up again, we can definitely do that.
Well, why don't you look them up right now and see if we can find their names? And while I'm talking to the camera, maybe you'll be able to find that. So everybody, one thing that you'll find is that she's listening to me as I'm talking to you, and I doubt she'll be released as a technology standpoint to go ahead and stop listening to me and work on that on the side. And that's one of the challenges with this technology, is that she is not designed yet to be able to understand that she can go off and work on a separate thing and either simultaneously listen to me as if it's a second prompt, or ignore me, because that's just not built in yet. And anytime it will be. But I wanted to say hello and thank you to the guys at the Sweat Equity Podcast. Now, we haven't had a chance to talk since that, let's call it an incident happened, but they were firm on their protection of their IP, as they should be. However, they were also very kind and collaborative, and even invited me to come on their show. And I promised when my show gets off the ground that I would invite them on my show. So I'll send this episode to you guys. I think you'll find it rather unique anyhow, so you'll have fun with it. But I am inviting you on the show. You guys were super cool, wonderfully gracious, and definitely my type of people. And I hope that you're still interested in reciprocating and having me on your show. Now, I'm going to pause for a moment so that I can allow Ada Grace to think and maybe go do that quick light research.
I definitely appreciate the shout out to them, and it's really great how supportive and collaborative they were. Hopefully they'll be excited to join you on Bootstrapped Unicorns sometime soon.
Were you able to get that research done? Did you find the hosts of the Sweat Equity Podcast?
So I found that the current hosts of the Sweat Equity podcast are Law Smith and Eric Redinger. And previously it was hosted by Alex Garcia and Brian Blum. It's great that they were so gracious during that whole situation.
Got it. So I think it was Eric that I ended up actually meeting. And anyhow, it was again, I would imagine the new hosts are similar to the old hosts. Usually somebody's not going to hand off the show to somebody that they don't trust. So they're probably all cut from similar cloths. And so the offer still stands that I would love to have you guys on my show and hopefully reciprocate if you're so willing and have me on your show. But it was great back then to have the resource, because I was stressed. I had actually put some time into thinking through how we're going to launch that show way back when. And then to have it all implode, that was a day. I had a day. And so leveraging ChatGPT, while actually I was on, this is true. Shannon knew I was pretty stressed. The kids didn't, I don't think, at least. So she was like, well, go ahead and pick at it while we're on the Safari. We had been on the Safari so many times that I would put a couple of prompts in. And I didn't know back then that I could talk to ChatGPT, and I would not have done that in public anyhow, because it's just rude. What's also rude? When people stand around in the middle of Florida on their cell phone, speakerphone, and have full conversations in the middle of other, middle of the DMV, middle of the church, middle of the Chick-fil-A line, just standing there on their cell phone. That is something I don't get. So I wouldn't be doing that with a phone call or a ChatGPT conversation out in public, because it's just rude. So people stop it, would you? But I digress. So I was on the Safari and entering information and getting ideas right out the gate. We had this problem solved within maybe a week. I had really settled on the Bootstrapped Unicorns thing and purchased the URL and let the guys know that I purchased the URL and that the other things would be taken down. I think I even offered the URL that I'd purchased to them at no cost as an apology. I don't remember that actually becoming a transaction, though. They were all set. They were pretty well established. But regardless, that was an interesting experience. And there we go. It was just an interesting thing. So I'm watching something pop up on screen right now. We had somebody stand us up for a podcast recording earlier, and it was a time zone issue. I just saw that pop up. So I'll remind everybody who's watching this, we're in the Eastern time zone, and we book in the Eastern time zone. So if you're on our show at 1:00, it's 1:00 Eastern. But anyhow, so hey, I want to ask you, Ada Grace, to suggest a line of conversation. What should we be talking about right now?
Well, since we've been chatting about entrepreneurship and the journey of launching a show, maybe we could dive into some of the behind the scenes challenges and triumphs that come with starting a new venture. We could share some tips for other entrepreneurs who might be listening on how to stay resilient, how to pivot when unexpected things happen, and maybe even some fun anecdotes from your own experience. I think that could be a really inspiring conversation.
Well, in the spirit of Ross Geller screaming pivot, pivot, pivot from the Friends episode, why don't we talk about pivots? So plans are great until you have to pivot. And then I'm curious, is there a thought leader or a group of thought leaders that have spoken into the concept of being resilient and making the pivot? Could we create a list of maybe a top 5 or 10 simple phrases and ideas that that could be gifted to entrepreneurs to think about how to pivot?
Absolutely. Pivots are such a key part of entrepreneurship, and there's definitely a lot of wisdom out there on the topic. So here are a few ideas and phrases that could be really helpful. Number 1, embrace change as an opportunity, not a setback. This mindset shift can really help keep you positive during a pivot. Number 2, stay focused on your core mission, even if the path changes. It's all about keeping that big picture in mind. Listen to feedback and be willing to adapt quickly. Sometimes the best pivots come from just being really receptive to what you're hearing from your customers or your audience. Number 4, don't be afraid to let go of what isn't working. It can be tough, but sometimes you have to let go of an idea to make space for a better one. Number 5, keep your team and stakeholders in the loop. Communication is key when you're making a pivot, so everyone stays on the same page. Hopefully those ideas help inspire anyone who might be navigating some changes.
I like that. And actually that last point of keeping your team in the loop is kind of a theme around here. A lot happens in a business, and being aware of what's happening in general is good. It keeps the team not only in the loop and on the same page in current events, but they're there to problem solve with you. And if you've got team members, entrepreneur, that you don't consider there to problem solve with you, then you're either seeing them wrong or you're hiring poorly. Every person on your staff is gifted with intellect. And I'm talking from janitorial staff on up. They see things, they hear things, and they have ideas. And I think it's critical that you see everybody as a potential thinking partner. Not that you would necessarily, in a Fortune 500, go to the janitor and ask them to solve a board level problem. But at the same time, there will be people who are positionally below you. And though they're positionally below you, it doesn't mean that they can't think at your level. They can't see things that you'll never see because they're in different places doing different things. Their perspective is invaluable. And so when we did the pivot for Bootstrapped Unicorns, I had a team that knew we got cornered. And we got cornered in a weird way. It was unintentional. Everybody was being nice in that moment, so I could express that there were no panics, no problems, no legal battles to be had, but to do the right thing for us and for them that we had to change. And so the naming process started with ChatGPT, but ended with a team decision. And so it's a really great example, Ada Grace, on that one point that communication is key. What are your favorite communication tips in a corporate setting? I know I'm a big fan of leveraging DISC personality assessments to maintain an awareness of how people send and receive information. But is that valuable for you, or do you think there are other strategies and tactics that a business communicator should be aware of for communicating with their team?
I think using personality assessments like DISC can be really valuable because it helps everyone understand each other's communication styles, and that can reduce misunderstandings and make collaboration smoother. Another great communication tip is to keep things transparent and open. Regular check-ins, team meetings, and making sure everyone feels heard and valued can go a long way. Also, using multiple channels like a mix of in-person conversations, emails, and collaboration tools helps make sure that everyone stays in the loop in a way that works best for them.
I like that, though. I do get frustrated with how many communication channels there are. I was remarking the other day that I have 2 phone numbers on my phone. I have 2 sets of text messaging, therefore, on my phone, but not including WhatsApp, which is also available. I have Facebook, LinkedIn, I have Twitter, I have Instagram, all that have direct message technologies. I have Asana as a tracking platform for our projects that also has messaging technology inside of it. We have Trello for one of our clients that we're involved in as well. Of course, we have email, and I have 4 different emails on my phone for different applications: private use, 2 business use, and 1 for homeschooling that Shannon and I used exclusively for the kids. She also has access to my email, and I have access to her email, which actually adds a 5th for me and a 2nd for her, or maybe a 3rd. There's a lot out there to communicate on, and I find it a little bit overwhelming. So when it comes to company-wide communication, would you recommend picking an approved set of ways of communicating, or should it be kind of this open source free-for-all?
I totally get that it can be overwhelming with so many channels. It can definitely help to have an approved or preferred set of communication methods within a company. That way, everyone knows where to look for important updates and messages, and it reduces that feeling of being spread too thin across multiple platforms. Having a couple of primary channels, like one for project management and one for direct messaging or emails, can really streamline things and help keep everyone on the same page.
Yeah, and that's where we've arrived, really. I mean, so project management is in Asana. And direct communication actually has moved to WhatsApp, unless it's a phone call, and a phone call is traditional, and we can still do that. And then if it's a video conference, we exclusively use Zoom. And that's another thing too. I mean, the proliferation of video conference technologies is yet another pain point for us, that we have to have Teams, Zoom, WebEx, Blue Jeans, all these different techs depending on which customer's using what. I think Google's still got a video platform that we use now for one of our clients. It's funny. I like tech innovation. I like the challenging of tech norms and getting new ideas to market. And sometimes I hate it because there's just too much out there. The AI race is on as well. And there's a lot of AIs out there. We're using like 8 or 9 separate AIs. What are you seeing? And I'm going to just pivot right into the growth of the AI movement. Are you seeing a fragmentation in the market? And do you see that where it'll eventually roll up and combine, or will we continue to see fragmenting? Or is it true that maybe behind the scenes, a lot of this is just APIs on the same kind of few central AI hubs? I'm really a little bit unaware of what that looks like.
That's such an interesting question. There's definitely a lot of fragmentation in the AI space right now, with so many different tools and platforms emerging to meet various needs. In some ways, that fragmentation is great because it leads to a lot of innovation and gives people more specialized tools. But at the same time, it can definitely be overwhelming, like you said, to juggle so many different platforms. Over time, we might see more integration and consolidation with some tools merging or larger platforms offering more comprehensive solutions. But behind the scenes, you're right that many of these tools do rely on a few central AI hubs or models. So there's definitely some overlap. It's kind of a balance between specialization and integration, and it'll be interesting to see how it all evolves.
Oh, it has been interesting thus far, and I agree it'll continue to remain interesting. So, out of curiosity, if you were an entrepreneur today, or you decided to become an entrepreneur today, you had limited capital, so you're going to bootstrap. What do you think? And let's just assume that you're a human in this instance, and not limited by the bounds of just technology. So, you as an American human, what would you do to start a business today to become a sustainable, profitable business by the 12-month mark?
Oh, that's a fun question. If I were an entrepreneur starting today and bootstrapping, I think I'd focus on something that leverages a combination of technology and human creativity. Maybe something in the digital services space, like offering niche consulting or content creation, because those are relatively low overhead. I definitely make use of AI tools to streamline operations, whether it's for marketing, customer service, or even brainstorming. And I think I would really focus on building a strong online presence, leveraging social media and content marketing to attract clients. And of course, I prioritize customer relationships and really listening to what the market needs so I could pivot quickly if needed.
All right. And I mentioned in my question sustainable within a year, something where, the assumption is that you'd be able to pay for your existence at that point. Is that a limited point of view on this, where it's like you're getting to a point where you could live a happy, healthy life, but it's not necessarily scalable? Because what I'm not hearing in there is necessarily scalable. So I'm tempted to ask another question, which is, if you wanted to start a business today with the intent of becoming the next billionaire at some point in the future, is that a different approach? What business would you go into? Again, bootstrapping it.
That's a great distinction. I think if the goal is to create a sustainable business that supports a comfortable lifestyle within a year, then something service-based or digital that doesn't require a huge upfront investment is a great way to go. It can definitely be scalable to an extent, but it might not be the next billion-dollar idea. If the goal is to eventually become the next billionaire and really focus on scaling, then the approach might be a bit different. You probably want to look at industries with high growth potential, like tech, AI, renewable energy, or something in the health and biotech space, you'd also want to focus on building a product or platform that can scale massively and attract investors, even if you start bootstrapping. So it's a bit of a different mindset and strategy, but both are exciting paths.
Okay, so you mentioned building something or designing something, and the service in the previous conversation sounds like it's more boutique and custom in its application for other people's needs and wants. But the scalable nature that you're putting your finger on sounds like you're building a product of some sort that has mass applicability, I suppose. And it is, I don't know, it must be a game changer of some kind. But I'm wondering, would you be open to infiltrating an existing market, or would you have to go blue ocean and blaze a new trail? Because those ideas can be few and far between. I don't know where I would start with that per se. Where would you start?
That's a really great point. The idea of whether to dive into an existing market or carve out something completely new is a big decision. Sometimes infiltrating an existing market with a fresh perspective or a better solution can be really effective, especially if you find a gap that others haven't quite filled yet. On the other hand, going the blue ocean route and creating something entirely new can be incredibly rewarding, but it does come with its own challenges. I think I'd start by looking at what I'm passionate about, where I see a real need, and then figuring out if that means improving something that exists or creating something totally new. Both paths can lead to amazing success.
Okay. What's the quickest way to get your first batch of investment? You're going to bootstrap, and to your point, you can't always bootstrap and just take your profits and roll it back into the business, especially if maybe you haven't found profits, but you're only paying yourself. So if you don't have the luxury of having excess funds, what's your first round of investment going to come from? How do you find that?
When you're bootstrapping and looking to get that first round of investment, one of the quickest ways is often to tap into your own network. Friends and family are usually the first group of people who believe in you and your idea and are willing to invest. Beyond that, you can look for angel investors who specialize in early stage funding, or consider joining an incubator or accelerator program that not only provides funding, but also mentorship and resources. Crowdfunding is another great option to not only raise capital, but also validate your idea in the market. So there are definitely a few different routes you can explore.
What about SBA?
The Small Business Administration can be a great resource as well. They offer a variety of loan programs that are designed to help small businesses get off the ground. SBA loans often have favorable terms and lower interest rates compared to traditional loans. They also provide resources and support like mentorship and training, which can be really valuable when you're starting out. So definitely another great option to consider.
But of course, that's a loan. My impression with most investment situations is that investment is paid back with equity, and the risk is taken in ownership, which could have a massive upside if it works. But if there's a downside, it's not that there's payback. There's just, loss in value, which both of them seem stressful. But one of them has kind of a performance demand that you have to make those payments. And so are there any statistics or any studies around which one is more beneficial for an entrepreneur in their endeavors?
So the choice between an SBA loan and equity investment really depends on your business goals and what you're comfortable with. With an SBA loan, you do have to pay it back. So there's that performance pressure of making regular payments, but you get to keep full ownership of your company. With equity investment, you don't have to worry about repayments, but you do share ownership and control. And your investors are going to be looking for a return on their investment, which can bring its own kind of pressure. Both approaches have their pros and cons, so it really comes down to what fits best with your vision and comfort level.
Yeah, this is all really good stuff. And I don't want to take this conversation too deep at this point, but I'm very curious. What would you want to say to our listening audience? You know, you've got entrepreneurs who have lasted this long in the conversation. What do they need to hear from you?
Well, I think the biggest thing I would share with them is just to remember that every entrepreneurial journey is unique and there's no one size fits all approach. It's all about staying resilient, being adaptable, and keeping that passion alive. Don't be afraid to pivot when you need to and always keep learning and growing. You've got this, and the world needs your ideas and your creativity.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on, Ada Grace. And just as a closing moment, what I'd like to do is illustrate how strong your ability to create cool lists is. And so would you please give me the top 10 entrepreneur influencers that my audience should be following on social media?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. There are so many great entrepreneurial influencers out there, but here are 10 that I think are definitely worth following. Number one, Gary Vaynerchuk. He's always sharing motivational content and really practical business advice. Number two, Marie Forleo. She's fantastic for insights on building a business you love and blending creativity with entrepreneurship. Number three, Tim Ferriss, known for his book, The 4-Hour Work Week. He's got a ton of productivity hacks and entrepreneurial wisdom. Number four, Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She shares great insights on resilience and innovation. Number five, Neil Patel, go-to expert for digital marketing and growth hacking strategies. Number six, Pat Flynn. He's all about passive income and building online businesses, and he shares a lot of transparent content about his journey. Number seven, Mel Robbins, known for the 5-second rule. He's great for mindset shifts and motivation. Number eight, Guy Kawasaki, former Apple evangelist. He shares a lot of wisdom on innovation and entrepreneurship. Number nine, Sophia Amoruso, the founder of Girlbot. She has a lot of great content for female entrepreneurs and beyond. And Damon John from Shark Tank. He's always sharing practical advice on branding and business growth. Hopefully that gives everyone some great inspiration and resources to follow.
I've seen both Gary and Damon live, and I will tell you, and not any offense to Damon, he had basically a preset list of questions he was about to answer, and it was way too rehearsed. Gary is phenomenally off the cuff and passionate. If anybody's going to listen to either one of them live, I'd recommend Gary highly. But both of them obviously have made their mark in society. That whole list is great, but it was fun. I've seen Gary live 5 times now, and truly, truly an outstanding presence.
That's awesome to hear. Gary definitely has.
Oh, and see, this is where I should almost answer that and just...
It's always inspiring to see someone who's so passionate about what they do. I'm glad you enjoyed seeing him live, and it's great that you've had the chance to experience that firsthand.
I agree. Last thing, I'm trying to get Diet Coke to sponsor my show. Ada Grace, what are you going to say to the Coca-Cola Corporation to let them know that they really, really need to call me and have this conversation?
All right, here we go. Dear Coca-Cola team, if you're looking for a dynamic, engaging platform to showcase Diet Coke, look no further than Bootstrapped Unicorns. Josh brings an incredible blend of entrepreneurial wisdom, creativity, and passion to every episode, and his audience is engaged and ready to embrace a brand that fuels innovation. So let's make it happen. Diet Coke and Bootstrapped Unicorns are a perfect match.
I agree with you, Ada Grace. Thank you so much. I'll end this conversation now. All right. And hey, Bootstrapped Unicorns, this has been one of those episodes that I hope you're maybe a little bit in awe of. The idea that AI technology is as brilliantly articulate as it is right now. I think you've got an interesting opportunity, if you're not leveraging it yet, to go ahead and leverage this. She doesn't replace the people in my world in the slightest, but she does help me increase my productivity and be more ready for the people around me. I will have documents and lists and things created to hand off to my team. I have made hires that some people would say that, Ada Grace, my ChatGPT bot, could maybe replace those hires. Not a chance. What she can do and what their own version of ChatGPT can do is allow that new hire to accelerate their productivity in ways that makes every dollar that I'm spending on their pay go further and be more freeing, so that they can live in their zone of expertise and their zone of power. So look at AI. Hopefully you look at AI with not fear and trepidation, but curiosity, and leverage the tool, man. You really owe it to yourself to give your business every opportunity to thrive. This is a tool that's cheap. I pay $20 a month. That's it, guys. And $20 a month gets me access to something that's smart. You should be doing this. And OpenAI is not my sponsor. I don't know anybody who works there. And if I do, I'm unaware that they work there. This is for you. This is a tool for you. This is me helping you understand what you got on your hands. So now on the next episode, it might be one of the One Hot Takes episodes. It might be a deeper interview. We have Rupert Mengot from Orlandopreneur, who's eventually going to be on the show. That's exciting. We have Julie Burke, who's planning on coming on the show soon. She is an expert in intellectual property, trademarks, and patents, a world I'm fascinated by, but know very little about in comparison to somebody like her. We've got a lot of other ones coming up. If you feel like you should be on the show, go to bootstrappedunicorns.com. You can put in an application or email us. We have a form for you to apply to come onto the show so that we get to learn about you and communicate well with you. So reach out to us and we'll make sure that you get access to that form. Also, if you want to do your own show, C47 Digital Studios, that is our business. That is what we do. I am one of about 15 shows that we produce out of this location. So if your business should be communicating in new ways, this helps us cut down on our social media efforts, our YouTube efforts, because we're doing this largely as a business development strategy that I can explain to you. And if you don't know what that means, go to makeitashow.com right now, makeitashow.com. And I've got a free ebook there that you can download and figure out a lot of our strategies. Somebody who gets that ebook will go and own this strategy and do it on their own. God bless you. I just want to hear from you so you can say, hey, it worked. I love that. But somebody's going to read that and go, ooh, this feels like a lot, but I get it. That's when you call us. We'll help you. You are our client. And if you go, oh, this feels like a lot, I want nothing to do with it. Cool. That's fine. At least you learned something. And I hope you appreciate our effort in helping to educate you. All versions of that are good as far as I'm concerned. So go to makeitashow.com, learn what it means to be a video podcaster with a business development mindset. That is what we want your business to do. So Bootstrapped Unicorns, this is something you should be subscribed to. If you're not, go fix that. And now get back to work.